Hi folks, Greg Marchand here with a virtual instructor-led training program brought to you by the Service Sales Academy. This episode is on follow-up best practices. All right, follow-up it's not always what people think it is. All right, but why do we need to follow up? Because customers have choices today, and we really need to keep them in our world, in our orbit. Okay, they don't always tell you what's wrong, and so you have to be the one to reach out and check in with them. I know for myself, if I leave an organization and I didn't have a good experience, I'm not likely to say anything to anybody. I'm likely just to walk right out the door, and that's that. So we need to keep them in our orbit with us. In our world, we want to keep them as customers. They have choices. They don't have to stay with us anymore. And again, follow-up's not always what it sounds like. It can take a lot of different forms. Essentially, it means you are reaching out and initiating contact with your customers. We want to keep it closing the sales cycle all the time. So in other words, the sales cycle isn't they walk through our door, we write the repair order, we look at the car, we sell them the work, we cash them out, and then they're gone, and then it starts over again. It's cyclical. And the follow-up piece is what connects them walking out the door with them walking back in the door again. It's us constantly staying in touch with them and trying to balance how often is just enough and how often is too much. All right, and so follow-up is a job. It's really truly a job. We sometimes talk about it or think about it like it's another task that we need to do. But I think over the next few slides you're going to realize, wow, there's a little more to this follow-up thing than maybe what I thought there was. There's different ways of follow-up. The most obvious is telephone follow-up, right? But today there's some challenges with telephone follow-up. You need somebody to do it and do it well, because not just anybody should be doing the telephone follow-up. Most service advisors are pretty good at it. They're people. But sometimes I've seen that telephone follow-up get handed off to somebody that didn't have the best phone personality, if you will. And then once that person does get them on the phone, or try to get them on the phone, we may or may not be able to get somebody on the phone, right? Because getting the customer to answer the phone, if we can't, then it may be no better than not calling them at all. So the telephone is probably the best tool still, but there are some challenges with it. And so we kind of have to combine the telephone with some other tools. And we could use email follow-up, but email follow-up is incredibly frustrating today. If you actually monitor your email follow-up in terms of click rate and click-through rates, you are lucky to get 50% of the emails even through to an inbox, let alone opened. A lot of customers, it's spam now. They perceive it as impersonal now. And look, honestly, if that's how you're doing your follow-up, it may be better than no contact. I mean, it may not be any better than no contact at all. Unfortunately, because even if it gets through, the customer still may not reach back out to us to let us know something was wrong. Whereas on the phone, if we're talking to them, they may say something to us. They likely will. We'll talk more about that in a second. So email is moderately effective. Do you need it? Yeah, you do need it. And I think if you combine email with telephone, maybe we're getting a little bit better. And then there's the mail, which I don't recommend. It's probably the least effective tool, quite honestly, because customers see it as junk mail. Look, I know the shop that I take my vehicle to, they're a client of mine. They're a consulting client of mine. And I get, they send a lot of stuff in the mail. And we've had this conversation. That stuff shows up, I don't open it. The only thing I open is a newsletter. Everything else that comes with their address on it goes right in the trash. It never gets opened. And so is it wasting their money? Yeah, it probably is wasting quite a bit of money. And it also doesn't solve that customer silence challenge, right? If I'm just tossing that stuff in the trash can and I don't like the service I got, but I never say anything, they're never going to know. So I don't think it's a crazy effective tool. Does it work for some things? Yeah, it does work for some things. And then there's text. Text is relatively new to the scene, right? It does require some opt-in, depending on the state laws, wherever you are. Customers do seem to like it. I've heard some positive comments from customers regarding text. I still think the jury's out on how effective it will be long term, but at least right now, it's something that I would probably delve into, okay? So let's take a look at some of these things one by one. The telephone. if you're going to use the telephone, and I recommend using the telephone, I do think it's probably still the best follow-up because it is personal. You have to take it seriously. You absolutely have to take it seriously. Schedule time every day for follow-up calls. It's necessary. It's a part of doing business. It is not just an add-on. It's not something that you can just say, oh, I'll do it when I have time. No. It's part of your business. No different than diagnostics in the shop, no different than doing oil changes, no different than your marketing. You have to do follow-up, period. It is important. If you call the customer, and we'll talk about timing in the next slide. If you call the customer, yes, leave a voicemail if you get voicemail, but you're gonna have to do another phone call. All right, so it's a phone call, it's a voicemail, and then it's another phone call within 24 hours. After 2 phone calls, move on. All right, we don't need to inundate them with 2, 3, 4, 5 phone calls. 2 phone calls, they know you called. They know you cared. They chose not to answer the phone for whatever reason, or they can't call back for whatever reason. We're gonna drop it, okay? We'll send an email so that at least that's an easy way for them maybe to get back to you, all right? But no more than those 2 phone calls. Have a script initially. I know when I say script, I don't mean something to read from, but have a word track that you can practice in your mind anyway, because it will make you better. So we'll talk about what to say in just a second, but write some things down so that when you call them up, you at least have a conversation starter. You're going to keep it short and simple anyway, so we're not talking a long script, okay? But the script will make you better. While you're on the phone with them, ask for a review. These reviews really, really, really matter today, okay? Now, in terms of, and I probably should have put the ask for a review down bottom, but in terms of what you're going to say, you're not calling to see if everything's all right. You're calling to say thank you for the business and to see if there's anything that you could have done better, okay? And what that does is when I call up and say, you know, hi, Mr. Smith, Greg Marchand calling from XYZ Automotive. I just wanted to follow up on your service visit yesterday, say thank you very much for your business. We know you have choices and we really value you as a customer. Is there anything that we could have done better during your visit? That's an open-ended question. You've said thank you for the business. You've let them know you appreciate it. You've obviously reached out to them and you want to know if there's anything you could do better. Yeah, you could have turned my maintenance reminder light off. I mean, really? Yeah, you open the door for them to give you the feedback, positive or negative, either way. And if there's nothing, there's nothing. How short is a phone call like that? It might be 30 seconds, 20 seconds, right? It's short, it's sweet, it relays the message that you're trying to get across that, hey, you know what? We appreciate it. We're touching base. We're essentially making sure everything's all right without saying that. We don't do that, right? We say thank you and we say, is there anything we could have done better? That's the feedback we're looking for. And then opens the door to, yeah, you know what? You guys had some recommendations that I couldn't do yesterday, but I've been thinking about it and I would like to get that taken care of. I can make you an appointment right now, or I can pass you along to your service advisor, whatever it might be, okay? So think about how you do it and what you say. You're calling to say thank you, and if there's anything you can do better, and it opens the door. Now, who should call? Oh boy. I like the advisor who dealt with the customer calling. But some will argue with me, and they're not wrong, that that person may or may not get an honest response in terms of, is there anything we could have done better? And I completely agree. I don't believe in doing classroom surveys anymore at the end of class. Because as long as I'm standing there in front of you, most people will either pencil whip right down the middle, average, or right down the right-hand side, excellent. And that's that. And that feedback doesn't do us any good. So if your service advisor calls up and says, hey, is there anything we can do better? Thanks for your business. And I'm all, you know what? I didn't like the way the guy dealt with me. I really didn't like his attitude. But what am I going to say? Yeah, you know what? You don't need the attitude, dude. You're not going to say that, right? You're not going to say that. You're going to say, nope, you guys are good. Thanks for calling. And hang up. And it's a 10-second conversation. So, you know, I could be wrong about the advisor. And that leaves, if the advisor's not doing it, then it's going to have to be a third person to do it. Well, if it's a third person, that opens up another conversation. They have to work at the shop. I understand that, Aunt Gertrude out in Pocatello, needs a job. She just had a baby. She's staying at home. She can't go to work. So she's making her phone calls. We pay her phone bill anyway. Look, no offense. She might be awesome. But here's the problem. She's not at the shop. She can't transfer a phone call. She doesn't have all the resources available to her. And so it creates this awkwardness that is truly awkward in terms of follow-up. So she might call me up and say, just want to say thank you very much for your business, following up on your service visit yesterday. We know you have choices. Is there anything that we could have done better? And I go, yeah, you know what? I got an oil leak. They just did the oil change. I got an oil leak, and I'm really worried about it, but I can't bring it back in. Now what's she going to have to do? She's got to hang up on me, call the shop. Somebody at the shop's got to call me back and figure this whole thing out, because she can't transfer me and she can't handle it herself. Now, Pocatello is an extreme example, but it really doesn't matter if they're down the street. They're disconnected from the shop. So really, I believe that third person calling has to work in the shop. They have to be associated directly with that physical facility. They need to know how and be able to transfer calls to resolve any of these challenges. There won't be a lot, but there'll be some, and those some you're gonna want to handle. So really, it should be somebody at your facility, and they've got to be phone friendly. They've got to have phone skills. I know it can be a challenge sometimes, but boy, does it make an incredible difference if they are phone friendly. Scripts, word tracks, they can really help people become more phone friendly, definitely, but personality really plays into it. They've got to not mind making the phone calls, and some people love it, some people don't. So go find yourself somebody to do the follow-up who is really phone friendly, and teach them what they need to know about the automotive business. In terms of when we call, I say 2 to 4 days after the service visit. Could it be 1 day? Sure, I'm okay with 1 day, but no more than 4 days. And really, it should be around that 2-day range, in my opinion. Okay, it could depend on. Look, we did a major engine job. Okay, go 4 days. That's fine. Give us some time to work yourself in and problems to show up. All right, before you call. If they spent a ton of money, you absolutely have to do follow-up. Some shops will do follow-up, and I haven't mentioned this yet. Some shops will do follow-up every single customer, and that is awesome. I like that. Some shops say we just the volume is too much, so they set a spending limit. Anything over $200, anything over $1,000 once, which I don't like. I think you're going to get the best feedback somewhere in that less than $500 range. Because the big tickets, the $4,000 or $5,000, unless you're doing a lot of fleet work, you don't have a lot of those, and you're probably going to call those anyway. The more people you can call, do you have to call oil changes? No. But really, the more people you call, the better input, the better feedback you're going to get, and the more problems you're going to catch. All right? The phone call should take less than 90 seconds. It really should. I mean, most of them should be less than a minute, quite honestly. Again, this is Greg Marchand calling from XYZ Automotive. I just wanted to follow up on your service visit yesterday. We know you have a lot of shop choice out there. We really, really appreciate your business. Is there anything we could have done better to make your visit more pleasant? Nope, you guys are awesome. Love you. Boom, 30 seconds, 20 seconds, whatever it is. Don't take a long time with follow-up phone calls. So when shops tell me they don't have time to do it, I say BS. You do have time to do it. If you do it well and you do it right and you do it consistently, you got plenty of time to do these follow-up phone calls. If you can't get somebody on the phone, you got to turn to email. All right, so those 2 phone calls, you've got to turn to email. Email is a challenge today. Spam filters are really, really good. Google has made sure of that. So the challenge is getting somebody to even see it in their inbox, and not have to go through other folders, and then to actually get them to open it. To get it to their inbox, you've got to send it from a person at XYZ Automotive, not from service at XYZ Automotive, info at XYZ Automotive, follow-up at XYZ Automotive, whatever it is. It's got to be a person. The XYZ Automotive will get caught enough. All right, but it's got to come from a person. Those will get caught fewer times in spam filters. If there are no photos within the text of the email, attachments are fine, but you don't want attachments. Don't use photos in the text. If there's no photos there, it stands a higher chance of getting through to that person's inbox. All right, and there's 1,000 more things to this we don't have time for. If you talk to your internet professional about email follow-up, they will fill you in on all kinds of stuff you never even thought of. I'll just tell you right now, it's got to come from a person at your shop, not a generic email address, and don't put photos in that template that you're using, okay? I like to include a reminder of your customer referral program, because not only it's kind of the opposite of letting me know that we did something wrong. If they love the service, they may not write back to me to say, hey, you know what, I love the service, you did nothing wrong, there's nothing you can improve. But they might say, oh yeah, that referral program, I got to use that. And that'll help gain myself some business, and it's an easy way of doing it. In the email template, again, you're thanking the customer for their business, but you have to, in this case, provide an easy way for me to get back to you if there's something you could have done better. Don't forget about the phone number thing. A lot of times we're looking at these on our cell phones, and if I can just touch that phone number and have it go right to my phone, that is awesome. But you've got to pay attention to the format. Some of the formats I see used in these emails and in websites even, they're not phone friendly. So in other words, I got to cut and paste that phone number, and that's one extra step, and I don't want to do that. All right. Make it so that if you send that email from a person, they can also return the email from a person. All right. You know all these no reply emails you get? I get it. They're system generated. That's fine. But every now and then you'll have one that'll come to you and you'll go, oh shoot, that's not right, I need to change that. Oh, and then you got to figure out how to change it. You can't just hit reply. Not as user-friendly, right? Make these emails user-friendly. Short, sweet, thank you for choosing us. We understand you have options. Please let us know if there's anything we could do better. Here's how you can do it. Just reply to this email and let us know, or call us. Here's the phone number, all right? The thing with email follow-up, though, that makes it more of a job is you absolutely have to monitor your open rates and your click rates and your click-through rates. And that requires somebody to understand some of that stuff. And it's a little bit of a different animal today. So if you're using email follow-up, you have to monitor all the analytics, and then you have to modify your email template and how you're sending it, what the wording is, all that, to increase your open rates and increase your click-through rates. So again, follow-up isn't always what we think of it as being. We make the follow-up phone calls, 2 phone calls, I don't get the customer, I leave 2 voicemails, now I'm going to follow up with email. But every time I send emails, and we're going to probably send a bunch of them, now I got to monitor who opened them, who clicked on them but didn't open them, you know, did they even get through? And then I got to mess around with how I build the email to try to improve the open rate and that click rate. It gets a little more complex, and this is why you're going to need somebody, could be their part-time job, to do this. I mean, it could take a few hours a day, quite honestly. When you send the email, I already mentioned the telephone thing, right? But if you're just going to use email follow-up, which I don't recommend, you've got to send that email within 3 days of the service visit. If you can't get phone contact, it's those 2 phone calls and send it. Usually that's within those 3 days. Otherwise, send the email 7 days after the visit, and email the service reminder or the recommendation reminder 60 days after the service visit, and then every 30 days after that. You want to remind the customer what you recommended. You want to remind them that they've got scheduled maintenance coming up, and that will generally happen 60 to 90 days after their initial visit. Not always. I understand sometimes they only come in every 365 days. But look, contacting me 2 months after my last visit, that's okay. And then once a month after that, that's okay. That's not too much. You're not inundating me. It's not once a week. It's not once a day. All right? So try to adjust your email timing so you don't send too many, but you send enough that I'm like, yeah, you know what? I gotta make the appointment. Mail is, but look, the one really good thing about mail is handwritten thank you cards. Very few people do it. We're not used to it anymore. When I say few, a lot of us in our industry do it, but a lot of businesses, period, don't. And so thank you cards, handwritten thank you cards in an envelope that I open up, they're awesome. They're awesome. They work. They really, really do work. And every shop will tell you that. So if you're going to use mail, use handwritten thank you cards. as follow-up. The typed and printed letters, I'll get some of those for the recommendations or upcoming service, and it's great as a reminder, but again, I toss them right in the trash. I know what they are. I get a card in the mail, I'm going to open it and see, and I'm going to think, wow, that's kind of cool, and I'll probably set it on the desk, right? Some people stick it on the bulletin board. But that's really the most effective mail. The other mail is other than the newsletter, which we'll save for a separate video. Other than a newsletter, it's kind of wasted money. So I'm not sure I would do a whole lot of mailing for follow-up unless it's handwritten thank you cards. And you can only do so many of those. So pick the big spenders and send the cards, the handwritten cards, to the big spenders. Okay? A lot of mail follow-up has got to have some sort of incentive to either get me to return contact or return visit. So really, this isn't a follow-up piece that's going to be able to reach out and get some feedback from me unless you give me a website to go to fill out a quick survey in return for a free oil change. You can, and we don't have time in this program to go through the whole thing, but you can get people to fill out surveys, to give you an opinion, to contact you back if you give them something. But you got to give them something of value. So if you really want a customer to get back in touch because of a mail follow-up, you've got to incentivize that. Okay? The handwritten thank you card is thank you for your business. We know you have choices. We appreciate it very much. Call us if you have any concerns or need anything. That's all. And don't expect anything more than they're going to open it and smile, and that's that. If you want me to go do something, you have to incentivize it. Okay? The timing of the mail, look, if there's no phone contact and you can't get anybody to open an email because you've been tracking that, then send it 5 days, send it 7 days, send it 10 days after the visit. Keep it short, sweet, handwrite it. It might just get them to open that email next time, all right, because they see that you're for real. Hey, they called me, they left me 2 voicemails, they emailed me, yeah, I know I didn't open it, whatever, nothing was wrong. And then I get a thank you card from them? Wow, all right, well, maybe I'll do something for them next time. Maybe I'll open the email next time, or maybe I'll answer the phone when they call. All right, follow up with the mailer. If you still don't get an email open after 90 days, then follow up with another mailer. Follow up with an incentive. And look, you don't have to go 90 days. You can go 180 days. You can go a year if you want to. That kind of timing is your choice, but it should be phone contact. If that doesn't happen, email contact. If that doesn't open, send a handwritten thank you card. Okay? You may have to watch this whole thing again unless you're taking good notes. And then there's text follow-up, right? One last form of follow-up. Understand your state laws regarding the opt-in and opt-out. A lot of the service management systems will automate texts now, and it's really easy. One of the bigger challenges is, what's the text going to say, and who is it going to come from? I really like it. If I only have one choice, I send it from the owner or the service manager. Okay, one of those two. And here's why. Even if a third person is responsible for those text follow-ups, in other words, making sure of the wording and making sure they go out, and the customer gets it and it's from the owner, I might think, oh, that's probably automated. But if I text back to that number, the owner will still see it. Or I, as a third person monitoring this, will say, hey, dude, this guy texted back at you, check it out. And then the owner can text back with a personal message, and all of a sudden they get the sense that, oh, wow, it really is you. All right, and I've watched this work recently, and it's kind of cool because the customer doesn't understand what's going on behind the scenes. The owner is aware of it, but they don't have to do anything. Third person is monitoring the follow-up. The system is automatically sending the text follow-up, but it's personal enough that the customer doesn't see it as machine language, if you will. So work on your text. See if you can't figure out how to automate it, and work on the wording. You want it to be friendly, and again, just say thank you very much for your business. We really appreciate it. And every now and then, the owner can send a personal one and say, hey, hope you had fun at the whatever. Good seeing you the other night at the restaurant. And it plants these seeds that, wow, it's a really personal organization. It's quick, it's easy. We all pay attention to push notifications and texts today in our lives, right? The timing of the text, usually it takes the place of the phone. So I'll say 2 to 4 days, again, after the last visit. Less is always more, right? Keep it brief, keep it to the point, say thank you. Follow up again with maybe an email after those 7 days. And then follow up with service reminders, and those can be texted 60 days, 30 days after that. If you want to go every 60 days, that's fine. But once you contact after the service visit with text, go that 60, 90-day time period and send a service reminder. Hey, just checking in, want to remind you your oil change is going to be due soon. All right, it works really well. It's quick, it's easy, and customers seem to like it right now. And then there's social media, right? Social media. The follow-up person should be monitoring social media as well. And you can see how this can become a full-time job. We've got telephone and phone calls and the time they take. We've got emails and the effort they take with the analytics and the wording and all that. We've got mail with handwritten thank you notes. We've got texting with the monitoring that requires. And now we've got social media. Wow. But you can do follow-up via social media. You can private message people if they're connected to your Twitter account, your Facebook account, whatever it might be. You can solicit reviews through social media. You can turn some social media posts into reviews. Social media should be part of your follow-up process. And it's only going to get more and more and more and gain more traction. So the whole follow-up thing, we're kind of getting away from the service advisor doing it, aren't we? We're kind of moving into, you need a follow-up person. And that follow-up person is going to manage your social media. They're going to make the phone calls. They'll send the handwritten thank you notes, or they'll at least write them and have the service advisor sign them. Well, the service advisor should really be writing them. They're going to monitor your email. They're going to be doing all of these things. Remember, you're thanking me for my business, right? You know they have choices, and they've got lots of choices today, and you're always looking for what you can do better. And that's what that person's job is. Is it a form of marketing? Yes. Is it a form of closing the sales cycle? Yes. But really, it's a form of, let's figure out what we can do better while we're staying in touch with our customers. It's really, really, really important. All right, and I think I've made that case. I've shown what a task it can really, really be. You can get good information from it, and you can really close those sales cycles and keep your business going with great follow-up. A lot of customers aren't going to tell you what went wrong unless you do follow up with them. But how you do it matters too. Okay, so go back through this, take some notes, watch the video again, take some notes, have a shop meeting, talk about how you can do it better at your shop, and stay up to date with all of this technology. And if you've got any questions, concerns, or you want to talk about it, shoot me an email, shoot me a text, call me. I'll be more than happy to talk to you about it. Until we meet again, keep up the great work and never stop learning.